In the distant future, humanity had spread across the stars, colonizing planets in far-off galaxies. But with the vastness of space came new challenges, new enemies, new threats, and a war that would shape the destiny of the human race. It was a war not fought with ships and weapons alone, but with the very essence of life itself. A war of genes. The conflict began years ago when the first genetic experiment went awry. The Federation of Planets, in their quest for genetic perfection, had sought to create the ultimate soldier. They wanted beings capable of immense strength, intelligence, and resilience, warriors who could dominate any enemy. But in their ambition, they had unlocked a door they could never close. The first generation of genetic soldiers, bred in laboratories, were a marvel. Enhanced with the best traits of humanity and the might of alien species, they became living weapons. They had abilities that seemed to defy nature itself: speed, endurance, telepathic communication, and regenerative healing. The Federation was proud of their creation, believing they had crafted the perfect army. But there was one flaw that had been overlooked. The gene splicing, in its rush to perfection, had also triggered a dormant force within the human genome, a force that had been buried deep in the human race's evolutionary past. It was a gene from the ancient ancestors of humanity, a primal strain that had long been forgotten. But in the fusion of human and alien DNA, this dormant gene had been awakened. The first sign of the problem was subtle: a shift in behavior. The enhanced soldiers, once obedient, began to question their creators. The dormant gene began to stir within them, awakening memories from a time long before civilization, a time when humans were wild, untamed, and fiercely independent. At first, the Federation tried to suppress the rebellion. They sent in more soldiers, more advanced weaponry, but nothing could stop the rising tide. The enhanced soldiers, now united under a single cause, were no longer just tools of war. They were something greater. Something that the Federation had failed to understand. The genetic rebellion spread like wildfire, and soon, entire colonies were falling to the awakened humans. These new soldiers were no longer just enhanced, they were evolution's next step. With every battle, they became stronger, faster, and more intelligent. The dormant gene had unlocked their true potential. Humanity, once divided among different planets and systems, now stood united under a single banner. The rebels were no longer just a faction, they were a movement that would overthrow the Federation and reshape the galaxy. They called themselves the Dormant, for they had been dormant for so long, waiting for the right moment to rise. As the war progressed, the Federation attempted to negotiate with the Dormant, hoping for a peaceful resolution. But peace was not what the Dormant sought. They had tasted freedom, and they were determined to break the chains that had bound them for so long. The Dormant saw themselves as the true heirs of the galaxy, humanity's next evolutionary step, unshackled from the chains of corporate greed and political control. On the front lines, Captain Aidan Grant, once a loyal officer of the Federation, had defected to the Dormant's cause. He had seen the truth. He had seen the power that lay dormant within humanity, and he had come to believe that the future of humanity was not with the Federation, but with the Dormant. The war had turned into a battle for the soul of humanity itself. The Federation, with its vast resources and fleets of warships, fought desperately to hold on to power. But the Dormant, led by Grant and others like him, were unstoppable. They had an army, not just of soldiers, but of warriors who understood the deepest secrets of their own biology. They could heal faster, think faster, and adapt quicker than any enemy. One of the greatest weapons the Dormant possessed was the ability to manipulate their genetic structure. In the heat of battle, a soldier could adjust their DNA to gain an advantage, becoming stronger, faster, or more resilient, depending on the needs of the moment. It was a power that no one had ever anticipated, and it made the Dormant almost invincible. In the final days of the war, as the Federation's capital planet, Helios Prime, fell into chaos, the Dormant began to make their move. The Federation's leaders, once so confident in their superiority, now scrambled to escape. But it was too late. The Dormant had learned how to manipulate the very fabric of their enemy's genetics. Within hours, entire divisions of Federation soldiers were turned, transformed into new, stronger versions of themselves, loyal to the Dormant cause. The Federation tried one last desperate strike. They unleashed their most powerful weapon, an army of genetically engineered creatures, far more monstrous than any they had ever created before. These beasts, bred for destruction, were designed to be unstoppable. But the Dormant were ready. Using their advanced understanding of genetics, they turned the creatures against their creators. The beasts, once under the Federation's control, were now free, wreaking havoc on the very forces that had once commanded them. The Dormant did not just win, they had rewritten the rules of warfare. The fall of the Federation was swift and inevitable. The remnants of their fleet fled into the far reaches of space, but the damage was done. The Dormant had emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same again. As the last of the Federation's leaders were brought to justice, Captain Aidan Grant stood on the ruins of Helios Prime. The once proud capital had been reduced to rubble, its towering cities now silent. But in the distance, the Dormant forces stood strong. They had won, and now they would begin the work of rebuilding the galaxy in their image. Humanity, awakened to its true potential, had risen. The Dormant had proven one thing to the universe: humans were no longer to be underestimated. They were the future. The genetic war was over. The rise of the Dormant had begun. This short story explores the rise of genetically enhanced humans who awaken a dormant gene, granting them extraordinary abilities and turning them into a force capable of toppling a galactic empire. Through this genetic evolution, humanity ultimately redefines its future.